Welcome to Standard Voice News Channel. I am Samira Ibrahim. Here are your top stories for today. Svtv urges federal government to respond positively on yearnings for petrol price reversal. President Muhammadu Buhari says universities' governing councils must follow process of approving VCs. President Muhammadu Buhari assures improved healthcare delivery services nationwide. On business, Nigeria spends $500 million yearly on oil palm imports. And on the international scene, Biden denounces irresponsible Trump fight to reverse election. Now the news in details. The Nigerian Union of Public Service Reportorial Secretariat, Data Processors and Allied Workers, Svtv, has urged the federal government to quickly respond positively to the massive yearnings and aspirations to reverse the recent increment of petroleum pump price. The call was made in a communique signed by the National President and General Secretary of Svtv, Comrade Jacob Kaura and Okwara Coleman, at the end of the Special National Executive Council Delegate Conference, which celebrated its new national leadership of the Union, held at Palala Hotel, Gusau, Zamfara State Capital. For more details on the story, Rahama Ibrahim Dusara reports.
It further contained a recommendation that the federal government should consider the inability of low-income earners, who were the largest part of the country's population, could not sustain the consequence to be created by the increase of the fuel price. The communique said NEC in session called on the federal government to reverse the recent increment in petrol pump price in order not to be seen as insensitive to the plight of the suffering masses in the country. The conference has, however, called on federal government, as a matter of securing educated society as expected, not to hesitate in resolving the demands posted by the Academic Staff Union of the universities ASU, with a view for students to resume lectures immediately across the nation. The NEC also called on the hosting governor, Dr. Bello Muhammad Matawalle, to throw more weight on the existing efforts towards improving welfare of the Zamfara State civil servants to ensure implementation of the approved new 30,000 naira minimum wage in the state. Rahma Ibrahim Dosa reporting for Standard Voice Television News.
The Northern Governors Forum has inaugurated a consultative committee on constitutional rules for traditional rulers in Nigeria's governance architecture. The forum's chairman and governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong, inaugurated the 11-member committee on Thursday in Lafia, Nasarawa State. Governor Lalong said the inauguration followed the resolution reached during the forum's engagement with traditional rulers and other stakeholders on November 2nd in Kaduna State. For more details on the story, Hawa Muhammad reports.
He said the establishment of the committee was important, considering the great role traditional rulers play in maintaining peace and security in their domains. Governor Lalong said that stakeholders from the region had collectively agreed to begin the process of giving traditional rulers formal roles in the governance architecture of the country due to their level of influence. Traditional rulers still command a high degree of legitimacy in the eyes of the people. As such, there remains the need to integrate the institution into the country's contemporary governance system. In his remark, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State expressed confidence that the committee would present a comprehensive report that will enable the governors to work with other stakeholders in ensuring that their institution was captured in the next constitutional amendment. Responding on behalf of the committee, its chairman, retired Justice C. Debage, Emir of Lafia, said the committee would deliberate on recommendations that will bring an end to the long clamor for more involvement of the traditional institution in governance. Hawa Muhammad reporting for Svtv News.
As members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASU continued their 10-month-old strike, the federal government has commenced the process of registering a rival union. Senator Chris Ngege, Minister of Labour and Employment, dropped this hint in Abuja when the leadership of Congress of University Academics, CONUA, led by its national coordinator, Dr. Niyi Somonu, paid him a courtesy visit. CONUA's membership is drawn from university lecturers opposed to ASU. Senator Ngege regretted the long strike by ASU, saying that it had negatively affected the educational development of the country. He said they are giving them 4 weeks from Thursday 19th of November 2020 to turn in their reports to the ministry. He, however, commended the university lecturers for initiating the process to register the union. President Muhammadu Buhari has cautioned the heads of governing councils of Nigerian universities against the mismanagement of the process of appointing vice-chancellors, warning that they will be held responsible for the outcome of the process. This was even as he appealed to members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASU) to call off strike and return to classrooms. President Muhammadu Buhari noted that the ASU strike has gone on for a very long time, thus caused enough devastation in the lives of students and the universities. For more details on the story, over now to our correspondent, Musa Joy.
The Nigerian leader stated this at the 2020 convocation and 72nd Foundation Day celebration of the University of Ibadan. So the government is worried about a series of petitions, many bordering on serious allegations of bribery and corruption as well as disrespect for due process in the course of selecting new vice-chancellors in some federal universities, represented by the Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission, Professor Abubakar Abdurrashid. The president warned that government will not hesitate to dissolve or suspend all erring governing councils or university management found to have fallen short of the standard expected of them. He said that the government has set in motion several mechanisms to monitor the selection process of VCs with a view to taking appropriate measures to ensure that the processes are conducted in open, fair and transparent manner, stressing that violators would be properly sanctioned. According to the president, pro-chancellors in their dual role as chairpersons of governing councils and chairpersons of the 5-person selection committee for the appointment of vice-chancellors must be prepared to bear full responsibility for the management or mismanagement of the process. Musa Joy Onyoza, Svtv News.
The Academic Staff Union of Universities (ASU) has asked the Accountant General of the Federation (AGF) Ahmed Idris to explain how he acquired some multi-billion naira properties in Kano State. The ASU's Bauchi Zone Coordinator, Professor Lawal Abubakar, in a statement, sought the AGF's explanation on how he bought Sokoto Hotel in Kano at the sum of 500 million naira and ordered for its immediate demolition to build a multi-billion naira shopping mall. The university lecturers also asked the AGF to account for the money he used in acquiring multi-billion naira Giza Commodity Market and Exchange. For more details on the story, Sumaya Dosara reports.
The first is to uncover who bought the version of the Sokoto Hotel in Kano with a sweeping sum of 500 million cash down and demolish it the next day for an ongoing development of a multi-billion naira shopping mall. The second assignment is to assist uncover who is hiding to invest multi-billion naira in the Gezawa Commodity Market and Exchange. On the ongoing strike, Mr. Abubakar blamed the AGF and the Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngege, for impeding resolution of the industrial action. According to the union, the DOE has continued to throw spanners in the wheel of progress of the concerted effort aimed at amicable resolution of its disagreement with the federal government. He also alleged that the AGF insisted on integrated payroll and personal information system (IPPIS) in order to gain 16,000 per enrollment of each of the academic staff of the universities on the salary payments platform. Sumaya Dosa reporting for SVTV News.
The Borno State Governor, Professor Babagana Umar Zulum, has announced that the federal government has released 5.2 billion naira to build houses to accommodate victims of Boko Haram insurgency in Borno State. The governor, who spoke during an assessment tour of 1,000 housing units for returning internally displaced persons at the outskirts of Maiduguri, said the money released by the federal government was for the building of 10,000 houses, 1.7 million IDPs, expected to return to their communities. The IDP returnees are currently taking refuge in IDP camps in Maiduguri, Dikwa, Mungono, Dolori, and 3 border communities with Cameroon. Governor Zulum said the release of funds was sequel to state government's request last year for the construction of housing estates. The governor, while praising the President Major General Muhammadu Buhari retired for graciously approving the fund for the building of the housing unit, said the houses on completion will ensure the resettling back of 1.7 million IDPs to their ancestral homes destroyed by insurgents. President Muhammadu Buhari has directed the head of service of the Federation and the Budget Office to consider an increase in the personnel and overhead allocation of the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital. The President issued the directive at the virtual inauguration of capital projects executed at the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital in response to a specific request by the board and management of the hospital. President Muhammadu Buhari noted that the increase in personnel and allocation at University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital will optimize services provided by the activation of the new projects. For more details on the story, Peter Phillips report.
Among landmark projects commissioned by the President are a newly constructed and fully equipped 150-bed trauma center, a new general outpatient department, a complex for National Health Insurance Scheme, a multi-purpose auditorium and conference center constructed and furnished by Governor Babagana Zulum. President Muhammadu Buhari also commissioned a new hostel for the University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital School of Nursing, constructed by the federal government. The President noted that the value of the project at the UMTH, which is a center of excellence in infectious diseases and immunology in Nigeria, to the nation's healthcare system cannot be underestimated, especially in the era of global health system challenges occasioned by COVID-19 pandemic. He said the completion of the capital project amply reflects the federal government's commitments to sustaining development in the Northeast, and indeed in all parts of the country to engender economic growth, peace and progress. Emerging diseases have made it necessary for all nations to increase and improve resource application for coping with the challenges of adapting to the new normal. That's the report. Peter Phillips reporting for SVTV News, Gusau.
The federal government says 57 civilians, 37 policemen and 6 soldiers were killed all over the country during the NSAS protest. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, disclosed this on Thursday in Abuja at a media briefing on the NSAS protest and its aftermath. He also said that 196 policemen were injured, 164 police vehicles destroyed, and 134 police stations were razed. The minister said the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, the Nigerian Customs Service, and Nigerian Immigration Service all lost infrastructures, equipment, and other valuables to attacks by hoodlums during the crisis. For more details on the story, over now to our correspondent, Musa Joy.
He said 8 medium security custodial centers in 6 states, Edo, Lagos, Abia, Delta, Ondo, and Ebonyi State, were attacked with 1,957 inmates set free and 31 members of staff injured. The minister said that in the orgy of violence, 269 private corporate facilities were burnt, looted or vandalized, 243 government facilities burnt and vandalized, and 81 government warehouses looted. He frowned at the position of some human rights organizations and media houses which continue to dwell on the borderless and bloodless massacre at Lekki Toll Gate. They became suspicious after they simply ignored the brutal killing and maiming of security agents during the crisis. Alhaji Lai Mohammed said the federal government is satisfied with the role played by the security agencies, especially the military and the police, all through the NSAS crisis. Musa Joy Onyoza reporting for SVTV News.
Meanwhile, the federal government has called for sanction against CNN over irresponsible reports on NSAS protest. The Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, made the call on Thursday in Abuja at a media briefing on the NSAS protest and its aftermath. The minister said the CNN grouped in its pro-conceived stance that the soldiers who were deployed to Lekki Toll Gate shot at protesters, killing some of them. He said the media outfit relied heavily on unverified and possibly doctored videos, as well as information sourced from questionable sources to reach its conclusion. CNN engaged in incredible sensationalism and did a great disservice to itself and to journalism. The first professor of veterinary medicine in northern Nigeria, Alhaji Shehu Jibril, is dead. Alhaji Jibril, a former chairman of Bidda local government in Niger State, who was also Marafan Nufe and the first Nufe professor, died in the early hours of Thursday in Bidda at the age of 86 after a brief illness. The SU Nufe and chairman, Niger State Council of Traditional Rulers, Alhaji Yahya Abubakar, on Thursday described the death of Professor Shehu Bidda Marafan Nufe as a monumental loss to the kingdom, Niger State, and the country in general. A middle-aged man, Baffa Alti of Ganji village in Gombe local government area of Adamawa State, has been sentenced to death by hanging for killing own son Buba Baffa for money ritual. The State High Court 7, presided over by Justice Fatima Ahmed Tafida, convicted Bappa for causing the death of his son by hitting him with a rearing stick and thereafter chopping off his head with a cutlass. According to news reports, the convict was tricked by some suspected ritualists to kill his own son in order to make money for him. The devilish idea, which he consented to and started planning on how to carry out the act. For more details on the story, Shehu Magaji report.
The convict and his son, led Buba, went to the bush on 13 July 2013 to rear his cattle, unknown to the son that his father was nursing evil plan to kill him. To execute his plan, Bappa was said to have used a stick and hit his son, as a result of which the deceased fell on the ground and later used his cutlass and cut off the head of the boy, leaving him lifeless. When the convict came back home in the evening of the fateful day, he inquired from his wife whether the late son, whom he claimed to have sent to the farm, had returned. But his wife told him that the boy was yet to come back home, a situation which caused confusion and tension in the family, leading to a collective decision to launch a search in the bush. To trace the whereabouts of the victim, the convict, in company of his brothers, mobilized the community and went into the bush in search for the deceased the first day, but to no avail, and decided to continue with the search the next day. Journalists were told that it was during the second round of the search that the lifeless body of the young man was found without the head. Shehu Magaji reporting for SBTV News.
On business, over to Musa Joy.
Welcome to Business Desk. Stakeholders in the agricultural sector have noted that Nigeria is currently spending about $500 million annually on oil palm imports. The stakeholders who spoke on Thursday at National Workshop on Oil Palm organized in Abuja by Solidaridad, an international NGO, agreed to partner to reduce the continued import of the commodity. The senior climate specialist for Africa Tourism at Solidaridad, Dr. Samuel Ogala, stated that Nigeria was not meeting its domestic demand for oil palm. Dr. Ogala, who doubles as country technical lead Nigeria, said the $500 million the country spends annually shows there is a huge gap in meeting the demand. In the early 1960s, before the oil boom, Nigeria was exporting oil palm, but after that oil boom, the country started importing, and all forms of oil palm are finding their way to the Nigerian market. Dr. Ogala said the workshop was for stakeholders to have a conversation around oil palm production in Nigeria, especially as it relates to producing oil palm in a changing climate. And that's all on Standard Voice Business Update. I am Musa Joy Onyoza.
And on the international scene, U.S. President-elect Joe Biden on Thursday accused Donald Trump of brazenly damaging democracy as the incumbent's campaign to reverse his election loss through fraud claims was dealt another blow with a recount in Georgia. Biden told reporters in his home state of Delaware that Trump was behind incredibly damaging messages being sent to the rest of the world about how democracy functions. Trump has refused to accept his loss on November 3rd election, despite his opponent getting over 6 million more votes. Biden won the state-by-state electoral college votes that ultimately decided who takes the White House by 306 to 232, flipping 5 states that went to Trump 4 years ago. That includes Georgia, where a hand recount of its 5 million ballots confirmed Thursday that Biden is the first Democratic presidential candidate to win the southern state in almost 3 decades. The recount showed how Biden won by 12,284 votes, slightly fewer than the approximately 14,000 he originally led by. Trump campaign legal advisor Jenna Ellis attacked the outcome and pledged the campaign will pursue all legal options. After initially making baseless claims of widespread fraud, Trump has appeared to shift his strategy to asking states to overrule the will of voters. That has been the news from Standard Voice Television. To end the news, a quick look at the major headlines. Svtv urges federal government to respond positively on yearnings for petrol price reversal. President Muhammadu Buhari says universities' governing councils must follow process of approving VCs. President Muhammadu Buhari assures improved healthcare delivery services nationwide. On business, Nigeria spends $500 million yearly on oil palm imports. And on the international scene, Biden denounces irresponsible Trump fight to reverse election. That's the news. On behalf of the production crew, Head of News and Current Affairs Department, Ibrahim Garbatunau, I am Samira Ibrahim, wishing you a pleasant day. Keep watching Standard Voice Television News. Goodbye.